Hello, everybody. My name is Gary Gomes. I'm here to talk to you about Vedic astrology, how it impacts the world, you, and what points in space are on the Earth are most likely to be affected over the next week. Is currently June 24th. There's a, and we'll talk about a really big breaking news story happening right now in Russia first. And also, just for reference, and we'll try to pull up Russia's chart, Putin's chart, and also Zelensky's chart. But I don't want to make it exclusively about those events. Uh, but I think one of the things you're seeing right now is essentially um, one of the first acts against people in power. And I think this is sort of a manifestation of a larger development that's happening, is going to be happening around the world. So, by the way, if you like what I'm doing, or even if you don't like it, you just tolerate me and like me. No, just please subscribe, share it, and comment, and we'll be able to talk. And also, uh, I'm giving a plug. Next weekend, there will be a big um, curriculum activity for Saptarishi Astrology, and that'll be held online. It'll last really July 1st, July 2nd, July 8th, July 9th, and July 15th, and July 16th. There'll be videos uh, that you can view. Variety of astrologers from around the world talking about different astrological techniques. So it should be really entertaining and educational. And I'd encourage you to attend. Go to saptorishi.com to register for the event. And I'll be one of the speakers where you'll have well-known speakers from India, Europe, the United States, pretty much an embarrassment of riches, excluding myself. So essentially, I think you'll learn a lot, and I think it would be good, especially if you're a serious astrology student. Um, and So we'll go from there. So also, I am planning on still planning on doing an interview with Alan Anand, also with some of Hart Defoe's students, and also um, a collaboration video with Lolita Dunn back very soon. So let's get to the charts and let's see what's going on overall. Now, last week I had some connection problems. I hope they don't repeat themselves. Right now, I'm going to switch away from Putin's chart to a now chart just to give you a broader perspective of what's going on. And I'm going to stop the share just to make sure the screen goes on because this is a problem with Zoom. Um, Nothing against Zoom, but sometimes the image doesn't come on right away. Sometimes when you share a screen, you don't always get to share a screen. So I do this 3 times. That's a Jupiter number for to make sure that we actually get the chart. I will cover your individual signs as well. Okay, so what's happening right now, right this moment? I want to make sure I have the right uh, time for myself. Let me just fix this. I'm sorry to do this. I should have had this done before. So I don't want to. So we'll go do New Bedford, Mass. Which, oh, okay. New Bedford, for those of you who don't know anything about it, is really the setting out of which it's the port out of which the story Moby Dick originates. and it was one of the richest cities in the world in the 1850s, before they discovered oil in Pennsylvania. So just to give you like a little bit of historical background, it's not one of the richest cities anymore, but but there's a lot of history here. Underground Railroad went through here, to Frederick Douglass spent time here. Ralph Waldo Emerson was almost the rector of the Unitarian Church here. So there's a lot of history in New Bedford. Um, okay, so we have Moon and Leo. So the one thing I draw your attention to, though, is the Saturn retrograde, which we discussed last week. So that can give reversal of fortunes to people. Um, and also the Venus Mars conjunction over here. So this is going to be kind of important. Um, the Rahu Jupiter conjunction is going to be plaguing us really for plaguing and also liberating us to a certain extent over the next 5 months or so. And that's mainly because Jupiter looks is represents um, the existing order. Saturn aspecting Jupiter kind of there's an adage in Indian astrology that Saturn destroys whatever it looks at. So there's a legend that it destroyed Ganesh's head, and they the Hindu god Ganesh, Hindu deva Ganesh, and the reason he ended up with an elephant's head was because that was the first head that Vishnu found when he went looking for a head to replace uh, Ganesh's head. So Ganesh was born with a humanoid head, and it was later replaced with an elephant's head. So Saturn is considered to be basically a destructive planet, and if there's discontent, which there actually is right now, there's discontent, and I would say rebellion from a wide variety of perspectives. Um, I, I I don't think anybody can argue that the United States is a unified country right now. I don't think it's as bad as I've seen it. Since I grew up in the late '60s and I saw it more um, disrupted. There were actual assassinations happening in the late '60s. Um, but so I wouldn't rule that out, but I think it's not really um, quite the same thing. Rahu is more violence. It's not really more violence. It's more talking and greed and focus on greed. And also focus and Saturn aspecting Jupiter and Rahu. Essentially, Rahu is rebellion. Okay, uh, and it's in conjunction with with it's in conjunction with Jupiter, which is a planet connected with uh, law and order and um, what we would consider to be the right path to follow. So you're seeing a lot of what I would call attempts to control and attempts to subvert law. Uh, from and like I said, this is not unique to any particular country or party. This is pretty much across the board. So we're going to see this jockeying for power really pretty much until November at the very earliest. And it's become more intense over the past couple of months because of Saturn going retrograde. So Saturn gets stronger when it's retrograde, and um, people will act more openly. The thing is about things that happen during Saturn retrogrades, they don't have much chance of succeeding. So I'm going to talk about the rebellion inside Russia uh, in a second. And then also Mars is debilitated, which essentially makes um, can give disorder in the military or in law enforcement or in a variety of contexts. Mars is also aspecting Saturn, so we're going to see a lot of people basically trying to um, fight back or argue. Now, this Mars is I say within about a week, Mars is going to go into Leo. And within about uh, a little bit more than a week, Venus is going to go into Leo. Now, those are two significant moves. So Venus and Mars will still be together in the chart, but it'll also tend to favor those in power. Okay, you'll still get opposition to those in power because Saturn is opposing the king. Okay, Saturn is directly aspecting Leo, the sign of the king. And these efforts to overthrow or challenge power will be more blocked or more restrained, but they'll also be more overt. And I think that's one of the things you're seeing right now. If you look at the chart, Mars is also aspecting K2. So both K2 and Mars are military planets or planets connected with military activity. And
I'm going to take John to get breaks for.
okay. And and I think just given this overall chart, there's going to be a lot of disruptions. It won't just be in Russia. But one of the reasons it's happening in Russia right now is again the Jupiter Rahu conjunction is a greedy combination, and uh, the fellow who's leading the rebellion is criticizing Russia for being greedy, and the oligarchs in Russia for being greedy. Now this is Putin's chart. Now, if you look carefully at this particular chart, you'll see K2 is in the same sign where Cancer is, okay, where Mars is, Mars and Venus are. And this actually strengthens, so there are a couple of different versions of Putin's birth chart running out there. One says he was born in 1950, one says he was born in 1952. I draw no comfort from the 1952 birth because that actually puts him really close to my birthday. So that's not really something I really want to admit to. But I also know that certain problems will occur, and again, it depends on which major planetary period Putin is in. Putin is in a Mercury major planetary period. Mercury planetary periods are inherently unstable. Putin's Mercury is in his 12th house. He has a Libra rising with Venus in it. Venus has been under affliction for the past year or so. So it clouds judgment. It makes bad decisions. It can bring humiliation. If it's still in the sign, it will be in the sign until November. And also, because Jupiter is being blocked by Rahu, it can give overreach, or it's being affected by Rahu and Saturn. And the luckiest planet in Putin's chart is actually Saturn. For Libra rising, the luckiest planet is Saturn. So we're in retrograde, so this will give him reversals. Now, it stays retrograde for quite a few months, for about 5 or 6 months. But the most remarkable aspect of this is that the rebellion or the uprising of the military happened when Mars was close to the end of the sign of Cancer. It's close to his natal Pluto, although I don't really use Pluto all that much. But I think the proximity to K2 is enough, and this will give open rebellion in the Soviet Union. Now, will this be crushed in a matter of days? Um, I don't know. My inclination is within about a week, just basically because of Mars's transit into Leo, but it may take a little bit longer just because of this Venus subperiod that Pluto's in. But a week, week and a half. Uh, and like I said, Mercury Mahadashis just tend to be really, really unstable. It's having Mercury in the 12th house too is not really the best position. If you look over here, Mercury's at 29 degrees. That's what's called Pujam Makaraka. That's a description of him as a person. Okay, that's his image, and Saturn is not really affecting that, but it's sort of hemmed in a very wide range between Mars and Ketu, which are two basically. Mars is debilitated, so it kills his ability to control. He's got Mars in the third house, which gives him a good ability to control people. And also, um, I think, at least from this chart, um, this kind of instability. So the instability has been there for about 2 months for Putin. This is sort of like the breaking point or the tipping point. And the Saturn retrograde essentially released a lot of pent up anger. Will this um, shut the war off earlier? Um, I don't know. I'm tending to think not because essentially uh, Putin will go through a series of humiliations between now and the end of November. And if he hits his Mahadasha, he'll hit a moon Mahadasha around November. And you will probably see another attempt uh, to this to get rid of him, but he'll come back stronger in February of next year. So if we so let's just look at Russia quickly, and we'll look at other charts. Okay. By the way, I did notice some negative activity. Oh, I don't have Russia in here. It looks like. Yeah, I do. Okay. Okay. So this is the new republic. This is not the Soviet socialist republics. So if you look over here, leadership or governance is determined by so the 10th house is a house of action. This is a dip. It's a disgrace to the leader. The leader is usually judged from the ninth house of a chart. Um, but it looks like to me within about a week there'll be a shift upward. Now, whether or not that means that Putin will be taken out of office, I don't know. And Venus is really being slammed right now. There's another important aspect in Russia, and it's Saturn's aspecting Mars in this chart. So that's another reason why Russia's having such a difficult time of it lately. Um, but that also tends to build up resolve. So I'm saying within about a week and a half, this particular revolt will be, uh, or this particular uprising will be addressed. It won't be at, so whether or not Putin gets replaced or not, I don't see that happening. But it's possible that the government may say it's time for another leader, um, and we'll see that within about a week and a half. Um, the other thing is we want to look at the Ukraine chart for just 1 second. So, so, so that, so, so definitely war and probably increased uprisings in in Russia over the next few months, but also around the world. You know, this is sort of like the canary in the coal mine. This is the start of a lot of the things that people have been predicting about rebellions. And you'll see similar things happening in the United States among groups over the next few months. You'll see similar things happening in South America, uh, and similar things happening even in China. Um, it's really going to be interesting, um, because we have a retrograde Venus coming up July 27th. We have a retrograde Jupiter. Retrograde Jupiter can mean replacement of governments. It can even mean replacement of existing governments. So no country's immune, to be honest. Um, so, so before we, so this is the Ukraine chart. This is happening in that Mars Venus conjunction is happening in the eighth house of the Ukraine. Ukraine's in Jupiter Venus Jupiter subperiod, so this is lucky for them. But Saturn's still aspecting that particular combination, so this doesn't mean they're out of the woods yet, or even close. Um, and this particular it goes to a Jupiter Sun combination, so you may see them starting to reclaim property. But when it goes to the Moon combination, and so the Jupiter Sun combination, so this looks positive for the Ukraine. But you will see some setbacks between July 24th and December 25th. So this doesn't really indicate that they're out of the woods anytime soon. Um, I think you'll see a sort of a victory for them, or else some kind of a compromise peace reached with Russia any fairly soon, like around, I would say around, uh, perhaps as early as, um, let's look at this. Perhaps as early as December, maybe earlier, depending on the transits, but as late as July of 2024. So again, keep in mind, Ukraine's chart is it has a lot of ninth house planets working on it right now. A lot of those ninth house planets are aspected by Saturn. A lot of those ninth house planets will be in conjunction with Mars. This doesn't mean they're quite out of the woods yet, although it is a positive sign for them. So I think hopefully this will end soon. I mean, nobody's really benefiting from this. And again, one of the things that irritates me is that, um, I'll be relieved if it ends. I think one of the things that annoys me about this is that we have a proxy war engaged in that part of the world. Um, and again, uh, I think that a lot of the stuff that's coming out right now from this fellow who's taken over, from the Ukraine, or from who's taken over, uh, the city in Russia, is indicating that it was essentially greed that drove the war, and I have no doubt about that. But I also don't. There's also, um, a certain amount of provocation. Essentially, Russia is our quote unquote enemy. Whoever can defeat Russia or humiliate Russia is our friend. And I think that's a dangerous position for the United States to be taking just personally. Um, so again, so let's get back to the chart for right now. So we have basically we have Moon and Leo. This indicates a change in leadership, a change in direction over the next week or so. Um, Saturn's aspecting the Moon. It'll also mean that we'll see leaders exercising more control or more dictatorial powers. So I wouldn't rule that out in Russia. Um, excuse me. The other thing is we have K2 in Libra. Again, we're going to see some financial issues arise over the next few weeks, and that those financial issues really won't abate until around the end of the year. If we're looking at, so we'll look at various countries as we get towards the end of the of this particular session, but I find it fascinating that Mars is such a trigger point in this chart because that was really the trigger that set off this rebellion. And one of the main reasons the fellow who said it, is because essentially um, he doesn't like the defense ministry or the defense ministry in Russia. He's been very critical of the defense minister in Russia. He also maintains they're not getting enough support in the field and that they're using soldiers as cannon fodder in the war. So the reason for his opposition is not clearly um, political; it is also logistical. He thinks the war is being run poorly, and his troops are essentially paying the price for it. So, and that will unleash a lot of other uh, resentments and antagonisms. So it's always good to look at the whole picture rather than just um, what um, we want to focus on. So, um, so, so, so again, interesting set of developments. Putin will undoubtedly have power struggles over the next few months. That shows up in his chart. And and it's not really clear he'll come out on top. Likely he'll come out on top. But again, Mercury dashes are notoriously unreliable, and and he could end up being run out of office if he's not very, very sharp and doesn't act very, very quickly. The other thing is, so again, I'm not defending him. Keep that in mind. I'm not saying he should stay in office, but I'm just saying, he'll have to act pretty quickly and unfortunately, pretty ruthlessly to stay in power. So let's look at the birth chart though. So we have a moon, so this does indicate a change in leadership in the first house, Leo. Mars is in the 12th house, so this threatens power. But like I said, this is going to threaten power from a lot of people. This is the start of a trend. Uh, Jupiter's in the ninth house, so again, you're going to see a lot of rebellions, not just in Russia, and also a lot of unhappiness around the world, unfortunately. Now, again, this is a good opportunity for individuals to shore up themselves, study more, to actually take advantage of new opportunities. So, again, whenever you see difficult charts like this, There'll be openings, especially around late July to uh, so it's theoretically possible Putin could leave office as early as before September 2nd. But um, I don't know. I think if he survived this long, I think it looks a little bit unlikely. But definitely, definitely, he'll definitely be facing a lot of problems over the next few months. Um, so maybe a 60%, 70% possibility he'll leave office before September 2nd. After that, Jupiter goes retrograde. So, if he leaves office, there'll be a power struggle in Russia, definitely. But all right, so let's look at the rest of the chart. So let's look at the individual signs now. Aries is going to encounter a lot of need for uh, um, financial growth. His luck will be thwarted a little bit. Uh, and also, this can give a false sense of security to the sign. So I think one of the things that, let's say, we go back to Ukraine again, Ukraine will have to look out for um, false a false sense of security if the leadership in Russia changes. So that's something you have to be careful about over the next 4 to 5 months, because there's even discontent in Ukraine, at least from what I can tell from this chart about leadership. Um, Mercury's in the seventh house along with the sun. I'm sorry, Mercury's in the third house along with the sun, so there's going to be a lot of communications over the next week and a lot of governmental communications over the next week, definitely from all parts of the world. And this will be particularly strong for uh, Aries because Aries um, has the moon in the fifth house. It'll learn new things very quickly. And Sun and Mercury. So we have the Lord of the sixth and the Lord of the fifth together. So this means this sign will be very competitive this week. K2's in the seventh house, so that still indicates some problems with relationship partners, some distance or lack of emotional connection with them. And Saturn aspects the first house, so a lot of pressure, a lot of hard work. For Taurus, Taurus has checking something. Taurus has uh, Rahu and Jupiter in the 12th house. So again, you have to watch out for expenses. You have to watch out for like insomnia. Mercury and Sun are in the second house. This gives some indication of uh, a lot of talkativeness on this sign, and also some anger about relationship life for this sign because of the Mars Venus conjunction, which should actually um, get worse towards the end of next week. Finally, you have, I'm sorry, not finally, but you also have Moon in the fourth house. The sign may have a desire to change residence, has to watch out for health, and will have a lot of work responsibilities. For um, Gemini, Sun and Mercury are in the second house. Definitely relationship issues for the sign, and for Cancer, and for and even for Leo. Okay, so you'll see a lot of relationship arguments coming up, a lot of anger about relationships coming up over the next couple of weeks, uh, even over the next couple of months for this particular sign. And yeah, there'll be a lot of anger about about relationship partners being unattentive or moody or emotional. That moodiness or emotionality will change a little bit as um, Mars moves into Leo, and relationship life and also their ability to fulfill their desires will get a bit better for Gemini. K2's in the fifth house. You have Saturn in the ninth house, good for hard work, but it does restrict gains. It does make this sign a little bit tougher to get gains. But if it sticks with it, it works hard. It'll see previous clients return. It'll see um, it'll see good signs developing towards its progress. But it'll still be a bit of a struggle over the next few months. For Cancer, Cancer has Mars and Venus in the first house. That won't last for long. It'll move to the second house, but that'll still give relationship issues and make this sign more passionate about its relationship life. So I think overall, with the moon in the second house, there'll be a lot of focus on money. With K2 in the fourth house, kind of detachment from home life and more uh, attention to financial gains and work life over the next couple of weeks. Definitely, as a matter of fact, over the next couple of months. Saturn's in the eighth house. They may have people attack them unseen or even relationship partners criticize them. Um, Moon is an important planet for this rising sign, so that's going to change a lot. But towards the end of the week, the sign's going to have to watch out for depression or anxiety, for but also for liberation from fear. That's the positive side of this combination. Sun is rules Leo. Sun's in the 11th house, so this should give good financial gains for the sign. But again, some relationship arguments, which will continue for the next couple of months. And also, you'll start to see some stinginess in the sign towards the end of July. The stinginess now, but it'll get much worse towards the end of July. So that indicates governments will get more stingy uh, or more punitive. Um, the other thing is you have, so I take governments as being both Aries, that is leaders, and Leo, that is kings. So that's like presidents and things like that. In terms of communications or in terms of wealth, though, this sign will do very well over the next few weeks. And in terms of courage, it will do well. But relationship life will seem kind of static, but this will be a popular sign this month. And also Jupiter's in the ninth house along with Rahu. So again, there is some discontent with leadership overall. So there's a lot of um, hello, hello.
Gary, I'm sorry to bother you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go to Walmart and get the cat food, okay?
Oh, okay.
Because he's gonna get some cat food for his cat and bird seed
Okay.
and the brake fluid. So I figure I might as well get that. That one stop we don't have to make.
Okay.
Do you need anything else from there?
Maybe some almond butter.
Oh, okay. All right. Bye.
All right. Bye bye. Sorry about that, folks. Um, and so at least this sign will tend to have some success, but it'll be a little bit frustrating. For Virgo, sorry for the interruption. This is real life interruption. For Virgo, good for career life for Virgo. Good for some financial gains, but also there'll be expenditures because of career. The Lord of the second house is in the 11th, though, and the Lord of the third house is in the 11th. So there'll be good potential for gains and fulfillment of desires. Um, Again, you're going to have to watch out for enemies for this sign because there'll be people who want to slow you down and people who want to obstruct you, and relationship partners may be a little bit difficult to please. But career life looks extremely good for Virgo this month, and also financial gains. But again, watch out for spending too much. For Libra, Libra still has that K2 in the first house. It's really good for intuition, unexpected gains, unexpected benefits, but it's opposed by Rahu and Jupiter. And I think one of the things you have to realize is that K2 in this chart tends to put up it'll give great promotions, then all of a sudden there'll be this fall from grace and then this recovery and this fall from grace. And, so I think one of the things to keep in mind is this will be an expensive time for Libra. They'll have good luck in terms of applying learning. They'll have great learning opportunities. They'll even have interesting relationship opportunities, but I would encourage unexpected ones. But I would encourage them to wait until at least November to pursue those. And Sun and Mercury in now again, this can be a positive placement because it'll allow you to break out or try new things, but it doesn't lead to permanence. After November, it'll lead to permanent uh, relationships and permanent partnerships. And Sun and Mercury in the ninth house, very good placement for financial luck and career luck, and maybe even success in foreign countries. Venus and Mars in the 10th will change to Venus and Mars in the 11th, so financial gains are expected next week. For Scorpio, Scorpio has K2 in the 12th, so you have to watch out for expenses. And let's see now, I forgot to mention the Mars aspect on Libra, which will make it a little bit more hot tempered than normal. For Scorpio, Scorpio's Lord is in the ninth house with Venus, so there'll be a lot of luck from relationship life, but a lot of unhappiness due to kids, children being a little bit difficult. Every effort you make will be met with some resistance. Sun and Mercury is in the eighth house, some unexpected gains. Venus and Mars in the ninth house, unexpected luck, and Moon, possible change of jobs. For Sagittarius, you have Saturn in the third, Jupiter in the fifth. So basically, good luck for children, but basically, I think a lot of uh, unrealistic expectations on the part of children, and also unrealistic expectations on the part of career. Sun and Mercury are in the seventh house. Not bad for relationship life for Sagittarius for a change. They'll have better luck in relationships, may meet a potential relationship partner or business partner through work or through social networking. So that looks good. Again, Venus and Mars are in the 10th house. So career life will start to get very strong towards the end of next week. And K2 in the 11th house, again, be very wary of friendships. So this doesn't mean you have to kick people out of your life, but just don't loan money or anything like that. For Capricorn rising, or Capricorn sun or Capricorn moon, we have Venus and Mars in the seventh house, so those people have probably been experiencing some relationship issues. Saturn is in the second house. They've probably been a little bit frustrated by financial gains, although they have realized some. Rahu and Jupiter are in the fourth house. That'll give some unhappiness with home life. And again, that lack of recognition in career life is sort of like a trope until the end of the year. Moon is in the eighth house, and Venus and Mars are in the seventh house. So we always spoke about relationship problems, but relationship partners will be moody or difficult. And I think you'll see the signs starting to really blossom towards the end of August, and also towards the end of so financially in particular, and also towards the end of 2023, excuse me. Aquarius, Saturn's in the first house, tends to give good financial gains for this sign, good authority, a lot of extra responsibility along with that. Some responsibilities you thought had gone away. Saturn's aspecting Jupiter and Rahu, so a lot of determination to achieve your goals. Sun and Mercury are in the fifth house, so that's good for overall luck. And finally, we have Venus and Mars in the sixth house, so there'll be some opposition from relationship partners in a romantic life, but also a lot of that will pass when Venus and Mars enter the seventh house. But again, watch out that relationship partners don't tend to be a little bit too picky or a little bit too difficult to deal with. And also, this sign should watch out for its health because of the Venus Mars aspect of Saturn. Um, K2 in the ninth house um, will give unexpected luck, but also unexpected uh, um, disappointments. Um, and those will really be connected with relationships. Okay. So overall, not a bad week for Aquarius, but again, you expect um, relationships to heat up a little bit, but you'll also see relationship partners start to get a little bit more energy. Um, the other thing is, so last but not least, we have Pisces. Jupiter's in the same sign with Rahu, so that again, this sign's going to want to make its influence felt. It's going to be sure that it's right about things. This is why we have so much dogmatism right now. Saturn's aspect in that combination, so there's going to be a lot of people feeling very fixed in place in their political and personal positions. Mercury's in the fourth house, so be more interested in learning. Venus and Mars are in the fifth house, so that will give a lot of um, financial success to the sign. They'll turn to more oppositions or more opponents over the next week or so, but it'll make it more competitive. K2's in the eighth, a lot of interest in metaphysical and spiritual pursuits. And the 11th house, going into the 12th house, be careful about wasting money on friends or wasting money on frivolous purchases. So let's look at the map and see. We should see something happening in Russia based upon what we've been hearing in the news. And let's see. Okay, so let's see if we can expand it. There we go. Okay, so that's a bigger map. So let's start from left to right, like I always do. And so we have Sun and Mercury um, lines and moon lines happening in Alaska, and I need to go and Venus and Mars lines happening over Hawaii. So again, this is more towards the Kauai region of Hawaii, but there should be there has been some volcanic activity, but I think you'll also see some water activity in Hawaii, maybe some unexpected flooding. Saturn is hitting um, the southern part of Alaska, um, and also the sun's hitting Canada, so you'll see some opposition or resistance to the government in Western Canada, especially up north. And there's a Mercury line heading down here. It's really not touching anything on the way. It's close to the west coast, but not really there. So I'm expecting, given the fact that the sun and Rahu are encompassing this entire area right here, and Mercury, we'll probably hear more news about immigration coming out of Texas in particular, and Louisiana, and after Michigan. So Rahu stands for people from other countries, and also more lines about immigration, more lines affecting immigration, not lines affecting immigration, going all the way down through Mexico and even into Nicaragua. There's a Jupiter line going through um, Guatemala and close to Panama, and we see several lines. We see a Mars line, so there's some possibility of violence uh, against authority in Michigan and also down through Ohio and Indiana, and even down into um, close to Washington, but not quite there, down into North Carolina, Virginia area, and close to Florida, and into Cuba, and Haiti, and the Dominican Republic, and up through Guyana, and down through Venezuela, Colombia, um, down into Bolivia, and down into Argentina. So South America looks like it's going to be in rough shape. So, to be honest with you, so the central United States and the southeastern United States. This line up here is a Saturn line hitting um, close to Nova Scotia, and that'll affect New England and the East Coast in the United States. It'll also affect Brazil. Brazil's government's in some degree of trouble. And let's see now. And there's a Mercury line. We'll be hearing a lot about it. We should be hearing a lot about it. Sometimes we don't. The Sun's line is going close to the Azores, so there may be a shift in government in the Azores. Um, we have So England is largely unscathed. Western Africa, except for down by Gabon and um, and Nigeria, is largely and Nigeria is largely unaffected. If um, we have Venus Mars lines running through uh, Finland, excuse me, not Finland, Sweden, Germany, Italy, Greece, um, and those will give some violence or some civil disorder. It also tends to hit um, gosh, hit Libya. My apologies. Down down close to the Central African Republic and all the way down to South Africa and Zimbabwe. Um, we have this Saturn line passing through Ukraine and the Moon line passing um, uh, through basically parts of Russia or close to Moscow. So the moon line is what's indicating the change. Saturn's aspecting the moon. Mars is in the house behind the moon. So this is where we're seeing a government, a government being attacked. So or or a call for a change in government or a coup. And it's also hitting down into parts of eastern parts of Turkey, Syria, and into Saudi Arabia. So, and I'm missing one line. It's a Saturn line running right through Turkey. So there should be some hardship in Eastern Europe or Turkey. I don't think the war in the Ukraine is going to magically end as a result of what happened in Russia. Uh, it's just not going to cease that quickly. Um, and is Putin capable of putting down a coup? Yeah, I think more uh, more likely than not. Um, but the question is how much it'll disrupt Russia. And if there's civil war in Russia, it won't be good for anybody. To be honest. So nobody's cheering for that. The other thing is you have so this part of Russia seems to be largely unaffected. It's between a Mercury line and a moon line, so we're hearing a lot about it. Also, if we go over here, we have um, a sun line and a Venus line affecting um, Afghanistan and Pakistan and also northwest India, going into China and going throughout the Eastern Soviet Union. So that will indicate some economic problems for those regions because the sun uh, is is uh, because the moon sign is in Leo, and it indicates some loss is expected for those regions. The sun itself is poised for gain, so India will make out a bit better. India and China will make out a bit better than Russia and Afghanistan will. Than Russia, Afghanistan, Pakistan will. And we have another descending sun line going through. It looks like there have been a lot of problems in eastern, both in Bangladesh and in eastern India over the past few months, uh, and some concern or some dissatisfaction with the government in this part of the world, in Laos and Thailand, and also um, into gosh, not quite to Vietnam, but Vietnam has. But again, disruption in government in those parts of the world. And finally, I'm going to have to wrap it up pretty quickly. We have a Mars line and a Venus line intersecting in eastern China, close to Korea, and surrounded by a Saturn line and a moon line affecting Japan. So those governments should have some economic issues or should have even some violence in China, which we may not be hearing about. Um, the other part of the world that I'm a little bit worried about is again Indonesia, Borneo, because those parts of the world are going to Malaysia down here. Those parts of the world are kind of abutted by that Mars line, and economic hardship is indicated in both Japan, Australia, and a lot of news about Eastern Australia coming our way. Okay, so that's it for this week. I hope I haven't bored you too much talking about what's happened in Russia, but it's an important world event with worldwide ramifications. Obviously, so it's not just hey, the Russians are falling apart. It has serious political implications for everybody. So an unstable Russia is not a good thing. So let's hope this works its way out. Let's hope the war ends soon, that they negotiate a peace, and that everybody's happy and everybody stops getting killed. All right. Thanks a lot, folks. I'll see you next week. I love you all, and God bless you, and take care of yourselves and everybody else. Bye bye.